Hi, Rigsters here, back with another Forza Horizon 5 video. Per a request, I have decided to cover the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 9 MR edition in this particular fun game. Just doing a nice little slow panoramic view of a Lancer Evolution 9 tuned to A class for the streets. It has semi-slick tires. It has race brakes, almost max weight reduction, and I kept pretty much the body pretty much stock except for the side skirts. These are non-standard side skirts. The standard ones look like this in particular. And this is what it looks like with it installed. It reduces the drag by 1%, which is, in the grand scheme of things, not significant, but in the model it does help you increase your top speed by about maybe 3, maybe 4 miles an hour tops, which can make a difference. It's small but noticeable difference there. The car tuned up here has 469 horsepower and 389 foot-pounds of torque. In real life, this car was made back in 2005 to about 2008-ish. Was then the Evo X or Evolution Mark X showed up on the scene. This car was reaching its zenith around the 9th to 10th generation. Unfortunately, these cars are no longer being made. They haven't been made since 2016. So the goal of this video is just to basically have a little bit about the car itself and do a drive and tune session under the course of 30 minutes. That's would be the intent of this new idea. I've taken some feedback from a good friend of mine that I know through Discord that is really into cars and thought this would be a really cool car to show off and do in this particular tune as well. So I'm going to quickly drive to do one brief A-class race here. In real life, this car also had all-wheel drive. This is what the interior looks like. And then for YouTube, I'll zoom in here real quick. Yeah, it gives me that sweet 90s vibes with the red on black dials, analog gauge. Unfortunately, if the speed trap thing would disappear. There we go. There, the tachometer where this big 7 and 8 is on the center of the screen. That is the traction control system. In actuality, it had 3 settings, of course. Tarmac, which is road. Gravel, which is off-road. Or, rocky terrain. Because this was a rally car at heart. The Mitsubishi Evolution was very renowned, especially in the 90s. But in the early 2000s, it was not a bad car, too, at rallying competition. A particular Finnish driver that I can't really pronounce his name very well, was extremely successful in the 6th version in the mid-1990s, winning the championship in Europe quite a lot of times. He was very successful during that time period, and that was like peak rivalry with Subaru's Impreza WRX STI. These two cars butted head-to-head during that golden age of the 90s rallying, particularly in the Group A, which was a specification at the time as well. This is the street version, of course, of the 9th generation. It's when they were starting to taper off their involvement in rallying, but they still did some races. And then they completely fell by the wayside of racing involvement after, say, about 2008-ish, 2009-ish, they started partaking less in those kind of events. So enough about that history. Let's just do this race here, and I'll see you there. Though this car has semi-slicks, it does have a little bit of a minor traction issue that I've been trying to tune out here. Under tuning here, so I switched the PSI to 30.5. Default was about 31, 32 for the front and rear. The gearing, I did not put a race gearbox in, just the final drive. And also to be historically accurate, which at this point it had a 6-speed manual transmission. The alignment I adjusted a little bit as well. Roll bars are the same. The only thing I did for the brakes is I increased the ride height by 0.2 inches just to give it a little more ground clearance so I could play around with the dampening. I can't be certain that this tune for the dampening is really well set up yet, but I started at 10 for the rebound at the middle point and just made the bump stiffnesses half for the front and rear, because you always start with the rebound first and then the bump stiffness to get a better toned with how the ride handles bumps and impacts. And cornering as well. Of course there's no arrow. The brakes, I reduced the pressure so it doesn't lock up the wheels as soon as I tap it. Differential, I was debating on going higher for the rear than 65%. I'm gonna keep it there for now. I did adjust the center balance, which started at 50%. I moved that towards the rear at 65. That is the tuning changes I've made up to this point and doing some driving off camera. Let's get into the race here. Let's take this out. Now, because it is all-wheel drive, it gets off the line very quickly, just like most all-wheel drive cars. And like in real life, it has a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that makes a lot of power towards the top end and then the bottom end. God, this isn't that turbo line right there. It's not doing too bad handling-wise now that I played around with the dampening a little bit here. Under braking a little bit here needs a little bit of tuning, but it's definitely turning in much better than when I first started. When I first started this tune, it was understeering like crazy. The default tune is not optimal with the rally differential default tune. You really got to play around with it to suit your preference. I like mostly understeer, but hint of oversteer, or at least the tires communicate to me as like, hey, you're losing traction. And you can feel that more often when you're using the controller for vibration, or any force feedback steering wheel you can get your hands on, which I know is a challenge these days, but that is also new. This race is pretty straightforward though. It's just a simple asphalt sprint. Yeah, it's still understeering a little bit more than I'd like in that corner, higher speeds. But it's not a hard car to drive. Set this up right, give it the right parts, just like most cars in this game, they'll treat you well. I would normally put a race transmission on this car, but it would have put it to S1, which would have defeated the whole point of the video. It is a very controllable car now. Might have to tune oversteer just a little more. And I'm just going to quickly go to the dampening. So that's at halfway point for front. Might actually make that the 3.6, 3.5. And make this 7.5 for the bump stiffness. What I'm trying to do is increase the stiffness in the rear to make it turn in a bit better when I accelerate and understeer. That's what I was trying to do. The gearing is fine. So let's try this one more time. Got a good start. Let's see if I can finish better than third this time. Or at least attempt to finish better than third. I want to see if I can get, like, second or first. Now, there is a little bit of turbo lag, of course. But it's not horrendous. In real life, because I tuned the engine to make more power, it would definitely not be advisable to stay in fifth gear. I would have downshifted before if this were a real thing. Or a real race, for that matter. And also in real life, you would not take a corner that fast and bump into a wall. That would have been game over. As well. Doing good so far. I feel the car is responding much better, and also, of course, familiarity always helps. This is actually not a bad sprint race to test your high speed and medium speed cornering. It's actually not bad. Now, if I could get this bot to get out of the way, that would be nice. Well, yeah, it does still understeer at 120 though. That's what I've noticed. I just can't keep up with this AI there. They're just so fast. Yeah, it's understeering more at high speed. But when off the throttle though, it does turn in a bit better. So it's just a matter of just fiddling with it some more. Probably eventually get it. It does really well at the lower speeds though, this dude. Like, come on. Oh no, I'm not gonna. Come on. Maybe we can get him on the inside. Oh, just barely. I might have still finished third. Yeah, just barely. Oh well. Hey, you know what? I'll take that. That's still an improvement. Alright. Let's see what we get on the wheel spin. Oh, that's a good roll. 175. Well, that was just like a simple 2 sprint series on the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo IX MR. If you like this video or this kind of content, you know what to do. If you guys actually do like this kind of approach from what I was doing from the previous couple ones, let me know, of course. And I'm still always looking for new and interesting ideas, not just in Forza, but in other games I enjoy and play as well. This is Rigsters' Journey, signing off.